Hi there. I want to share with you an energy healing strategy that can help victims of rape and abuse. To understand this energy healing strategy, it's useful to know something about subtle energy anatomy. In this case, it's to do with the way that the fascia that envelops every part of the body is mirrored by a webbing of subtle energy. Fascia is the thin, smooth, elastic, slippery tissue that sits between muscles and the skin and that surrounds body organs. It's everywhere in the body, enveloping blood vessels, nerves, and cells. The fascia is also the interface between the body's physicality and its subtle energy anatomy. The fascia is the bridge, the connection between the physiological tissue and the stuff of the energy body, the prana, the chi, the etheric energy. Fascia, for example, is the interface that enables acupuncture. In the tragic circumstances of rape and abuse, the etheric webbing, that's the subtle energy fascia around the sexual organs and the anus and that area, is penetrated. The result of this intrusion and trauma may be that the subtle energy webbing, the etheric webbing, the prana chi webbing, is torn and remains open after the abusive event. So the integrity of the victim's subtle energy anatomy is therefore broken. The victim now experiences, or may experience, will usually experience, not only the psychological and physical trauma of the abuse, but also the less visible wound of the torn and open etheric webbing. And this can create, obviously, an ongoing existential sense of vulnerability and anxiety. They know there's just something not right and it's vulnerable and open. For both therapists and victims, it's important to understand that this vulnerability, this ongoing vulnerability, is not just a psychological or physiological effect. It's held in the subtle energy body that has lost its integrity. At best, over time, with patience, calm, and trust, the webbing can reform and grow back into place. The patience and kindness of therapists, friends, and family are crucial. At worst, however, the wounded, subtle energy webbing remains open. And this can have a tragic result because bullies, predators, and abusers may sense this energy wound and be attracted to its vulnerability to repeat the abuse. The wounding, the opening, may then be further enlarged, creating a cycle of abuse as the predators and bullies may come back. And this can obviously be very confusing for the recipient who cannot understand why it's happening. It's also, of course, horrible. This energy healing strategy, therefore, is aimed specifically at repairing the etheric webbing so that it reforms back into a coherent, healthy, and resilient state. Now, this technique is not the usual energy healing strategy of hands-on radiation that is used, for example, in spiritual healing. In fact, deliberately radiating benevolent energy into the wound, into the opening in the etheric webbing, might make things worse because it can overstimulate and excite the area, possibly stretching and making the tear bigger, and does nothing to reweave the weave, despite the best of intentions from the healer. So the healing strategy that can be used here, that the person may find useful, the healing strategy is calm, receptive, and holding. It is magnetic rather than radiatory. It allows and facilitates the web to reweave itself. This work trusts that there is, so to speak, an underlying DNA blueprint of health, an underlying archetypal pattern of a healthy webbing that has remained there despite the wound. Yes, there's the wound, but beneath it there's still the pattern, the DNA, that says this is the way it should be. And we need to let the webbing that's got the hole in it drop down into this archetypal pattern, and as it drops down, it's attracted into reweaving itself. Now, this technique is very gently present to the wound. It's calm, patient care, no excitement, no radiation except patient compassion and love. It's as if your loving and gentle hands are under the wound and you're magnetically attracting and allowing the webbing to sink down and reweave itself back into its healthy pattern. This requires a very light touch, no sense of urgency. To repeat, allow the broken open webbing, just allow it to sink down into its healthy blueprint, which is always there. Have a sense that it's reweaving, but do not actively radiate into it or put any willpower or impatience into the strategy. Energy healers, therapists, obviously be very careful about actually touching your client. How many healing sessions may be needed? I don't know. These things take time, but I wish everyone a graceful and speedy healing. You'll know if the healing is effective and the webbing is rewoven back into integrity, because the individual will now consistently feel more confident and empowered. And those of you who have been subject to this kind of awful abuse, if you're reading this, if you're hearing me here, my strong suggestion is that you do this practice when you're in a very safe, relaxed and comfortable space, perhaps in bed or curled up on your sofa, kind of duvet day feeling to it. Approach the practice carefully. Maybe feel your way into it, so you're taking your attention down into the area where the wounding is. And what you're doing, what we've been telling the energy therapists to do, just allow yourself to sense that you're holding it from underneath and allowing the webbing to fall back down into a perfect pattern and reweave itself. If you haven't done this kind of work before, maybe just do it for a few seconds, just a little taste, a few seconds, and maybe slowly build it up to a few minutes. And a few minutes of doing this practiced regularly over several months may work very effectively and well for you. I hope it does. And I wish everyone graceful healing.